Hello everyone, today I'm going to speak about the National System of Reference. So let's start from the definition of surveying, which is the art and science of taking measurements of the relative spatial location of the points on the surface of Earth for producing a map or plan. So it's all about taking measurements on the surface of Earth. So we need to understand the shape of Earth first. If you think about this, what is the shape of Earth? Take a minute and think about it. You might say it has a spherical shape, it's like a ball. That's okay. You might say it has an eggy shape, ellipsoidal shape, which is fine. But in fact, the Earth has a potato-like shape. It's like this, it's irregular. So the shape of Earth is irregular and continuously changing due to irregularities in the gravitational forces inside the Earth. So the surface of Earth is complicated, and we don't have until now any equations that represent this surface so that we can do our measurements. So to do our measurements, guys, we need some equations, and until now there are no equations to represent this uneven and complicated surface, as you can see here. So because of that, we are going to approximate the shape into a shape that we know like a sphere. So the equations of a sphere are well known, and because we know the equations, we can do measurements on this surface. And this approximation is used for small scale mapping, which covers large areas but with less details about each area. And also we can use the ellipsoid as an approximation. As you know, the ellipsoid has known equations as well, has known semi-minor and semi-major axes, so that we can do our measurements. This approximation is used for large-scale mapping that covers small areas with much details about any area. So the whole thing here that we need equations, we need mathematical relations to do our measurements. Here we cannot get any mathematical relation or equation to help us in doing our measurements. Whereas the sphere has known equations, the ellipsoid has known equations, and this will enable us to do our measurements. Now each country has established their own ellipsoid as a horizontal datum with best fits to its area, shape, and geographical extent. Let's say that this blue line represents the surface of Earth. And we have a country here, as you can see here. Now this ellipsoid in red with these values for the semi-minor and semi-major axis. So this ellipsoid, as you can see here, has best fit for this country. So we can use the equations of this ellipsoid with these values for A and B as semi-minor and semi-major axis, and then we can do all the required measurements for this country here relative to the equations of this red ellipsoid. And also globally we have an ellipsoid with best fit to the whole world, in fact, which is this one in green, and this is called WGS 84, which is World Geodetic System 84. So this ellipsoid has known equations, of course, and has known semi-minor and semi-major axis values a and b, as you can see here, and it's used globally for locating points, and all of our GPS coordinates, all of our GPS measurements are related to this WGS84 ellipsoid with these values. On the other hand, we have another datum which is used for measuring the heights of the points, which is called geoid. So the ellipsoid is used as a horizontal datum, whereas the geoid is used as a vertical datum. This red line here, which is the surface that coincides with the mean sea level and its imagined extension below the ground surface. As you can see here, this is the geoid, and it's used as a baseline for measuring the heights only. Whatever the approximation of the shape of the Earth, if it's an ellipsoid or a sphere, it's still 3D shape. How can we convert this 3D shape into 2D map? There is a whole branch of geomatics called map projections to study this. So let's imagine that this is the Earth here, and we have a cylinder around it, as you can see here, this cylinder around it here. And now we are going to project all the latitude and longitude lines on the surface of this cylinder. So the latitudes would be like circles, the longitudes would be like straight lines, and then we are going to cut this cylinder here and then spread it. So now by doing that we converted the shape of Earth from 3D sphere into a 2D map. And this is called cylindrical map projection, and we have similarly a conical map projection when we use a cone instead of a cylinder. Okay, and we have a plane map projection like this. So a plane with a tangent point at the North Pole, and then we are going to project all of the latitudes and longitudes on this plane here. So the latitudes would be circles and the longitudes would be straight lines if we look from above. Imagine this. And this is used, this map projection, guys, is used by the United Nations as a logo for the United Nations. So this is the map from 3D using cylindrical map projection to a 2D map, or using conical map projection to a 2D map as well. And here this is the UN logo, as you know, and we have some other map projections. In fact, there are a lot of map projections around. To do this map projection we have a lot of equations and mathematical relations that would be applied to convert this 3D shape into a 2D map. And this is in fact a big topic. If you would like to read about it, just search for map projection, or you can contact me to provide you with some more references about this. Now, as I mentioned before, each country has established their own coordinate system based on their own ellipsoid. Here in the UK, the coordinate system, the origin of the coordinate system is located somewhere here in the sea, and we have this is the easting axis and this is the northing one, and based on this coordinate system we can locate any point here in the UK. For example, for this point we have the easting of it and we have the northing. Okay, and for the third dimension, as I mentioned, the third dimension would be the elevation or the height of the point relative to the mean sea level. So all the heights here in Britain are measured relative to the mean sea level, which is considered as a zero value. So for measuring any height, you will have the mean sea level as 0, and then from there we are going to measure. For example, for this point, its elevation above the ordnance datum. The ordnance datum is the mean sea level. Okay, so here in the UK we will use this term AOD for above the ordnance datum, which is the mean sea level. So if you have a point like this, its elevation 105 meters, 0.505 AOD, that means its elevation 105 meters above the mean sea level. Let's move to the benchmarks. There are a lot of benchmarks across the country. These benchmarks are points with known location and elevation, simply. So the location easting and northing is known, and also the elevation or the height is known as well. So and because of that they are called benchmarks. So you can find these points on the ordnance survey plans, okay, and also on the ground you will find a description how to find them on the ground. They might be on a wall of a church like this one here, or in open spaces they would be on a metal plate on a concrete slab or something like that. This is a benchmark here. On the benchmark, this is a detailed one. There would be a center line, and when you go to the ordnance survey plans, you will see a description of each benchmark and information about its location on the ground, and also you will find its coordinate easting, northing, and elevation or height. In some open spaces you will find the benchmark located on a slab, concrete slab like this, and here you will have a metal plate, okay, and then this benchmark would have, if you go to the ordnance survey plans for this area, you will find its coordinates, and also you can check this link here that I provided here for more information about the benchmarks here in the UK. So this is a website for ordnance survey to provide you with more information about the benchmarks around the country. And these kind of benchmarks are called OBM, ordnance benchmark. So ordnance benchmark. So here the TEMBRI benchmark, the difference between the ordnance benchmark and the TEMBRI benchmark, let's say that you have a project here and you don't have any ordnance benchmark close to your project area, and you need some reference point, some benchmark to start setting out the buildings, the roads, whatever. So the temporary benchmark is a point that you locate here, for example, close to your project area, and you are going to calculate its coordinates based on some ordnance benchmark. So let's say that these two ordnance benchmarks are too far from your project location. So you are going to calculate the coordinates of this temporary benchmark, the easting and northing, and also the elevation or the reduced level. We will use this term from now on, the reduced level for the height. Okay, based on these known 2 points. And you will learn this later on this course. So this is the temporary benchmark. When you choose your temporary benchmark, just make sure that it's not located on a wall that you are going to demolish later. And also, it's not located on an area that would be excavated as part of your work, and so on. It might be a mark on a wall, it might be a plate on a concrete slab, etc. This is an example of a temporary benchmark located on a wall, but as I mentioned, make sure that you are not going to demolish this wall later on as part of your project. In summary, the most important thing from today's session that you need to keep in mind that each country has their own coordinate system for locating the points and also the elevations. To locate any point, you need two coordinates, easting and northing. And for the third dimension, we need the elevation or height or reduced level above the ordnance datum or the mean sea level. Okay, from now on, guys, easting and northing, these are the coordinates to locate any point relative to this coordinate system here, easting and northing. And the reduced level is about the elevation of the point relative to the mean sea level. Okay, thank you for listening and enjoy your time.